I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Hey. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ritual Chamber. I am Josh, this is Jeff, and today we're going to be giving our thoughts and opinions on Disney Plus's newest Star Wars series, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So with that, why don't you start us off with the synopsis for this mini-series here.
I will. I should have practiced it first, but it's okay. 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan has continued to live in seclusion, watching over the young Luke Skywalker on Tatooine, when an old ally asks him to reluctantly leave his post to search for a kidnapped Leia Organa. With the Empire's hold on the galaxy strengthening, Obi-Wan and Leia must join a young band of rebels and Jedi sympathizers to run away from the Inquisitors, dark Jedi who are tasked with the extermination of all remaining Jedi, leading to an inevitable confrontation with his former Padawan, Darth Vader.
Oh, nice. Or Anakin
very
Skywalker,
wordy.
as we knew them also. But yes, very good. I like that. That was a great synopsis for this series.
It was.
So
Very concise too.
very concise.
You know, just
yes.
really to the point.
Just nailing it. We actually we don't need to do anything more from this point on.
Okay,
right?
bye. Monkeys.
Roll credits.
Yeah, roll credits.
So I mean, why don't you go ahead and start us off and dive into the show a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so when they first announced it, obviously all the Disney Plus shows have been good so far. With the lower tier version of Boba Fett. Boba Fett was a good show, but it just kind of. We talked about it before in our Boba Fett episode, didn't really have a great direction. And I don't think that was really the kind of show that people wanted from a Boba Fett show. But, you know, with Kenobi, I was a little bit fearing that there was going to be diminishing returns. Just because why? I mean, we know, there's a lot of stuff in the Clone Wars, which again, we talked about it. We didn't really watch the Clone Wars type stuff, but I like, I'm a nerd and I like, even though I'm a nerd, I don't have the time to devote to that kind of stuff, but I will watch 15-minute videos that, summarize it for me. So I know there's stuff in there explaining certain aspects of Kenobi's life in this, the times period between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And that's good enough. So I was wondering what they were going to do with it. Then when they announced that Hayden Christensen was coming back to reprise his role as Anakin / Darth Vader, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. Because, what... I don't know, it was really interesting to me because I was... you just kind of get the assumption that they hadn't seen each... When you... Looking back in the way things are told, that they have not seen each other since that duel on Mustafar. And A New Hope.
And I think in the, like you said...
I was really curious how they were going to play
in
that.
the capacity in which they were going to use him, it was very tricky. And I mean, also in that, I mean, to even think that they would... meet again. I think was kind of, up in the air when this show came out. Like, we obviously knew he was going to be reprising his role as Vader.
But you didn't know maybe that was just a scene.
Yeah, maybe just a scene or something. So it was exciting, and it was exciting to watch it unfold. And this was a great series. So
yeah, and so typically in our normal kind of breakdowns, our videos, we'll kind of do we'll run through the plot. We've learned, and this is why we haven't done shows in a while, we've learned that that's really hard, so we're going to actually kind of just do this a little bit different and just sort of break down certain characters, certain story beats that we really enjoyed, maybe things that didn't make sense, or maybe things that finally do make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think with the shows, the difficulty that we always have is it's really hard to summarize 6 hours and do it in a fluid
in a fluid manner. It doesn't require us to edit this for 7 days.
Yeah, exactly. So in regards to characters, I mean, what characters did you like? Which characters did you not like?
Well, you want to talk about Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Let's start
to start off, I mean, obviously, Ewan McGregor. It's great to see him reprise his role as Obi-Wan. Like, I know after episode 3, he had a little period of regret for maybe playing that, which I almost didn't even think. I was actually really surprised when he decided that he said he was going to come back to do this.
Well, a lot of people, I actually saw watching an interview with him, and a lot of people did have regret doing the prequel series because of how lambasted it was. But
good word.
But the thing is, and I watched an interview with him where it was only years later when he realized that the kids who had grown up watched that when they were kids. That's their Star Wars.
Exactly.
And we're going to touch on something a little bit later before we wrap this up. But that's sometimes the thing with Star Wars is you kind of forget, us adults who've grown up with it, forget that there's newer generations being introduced to Star Wars, that these movies are meant for kids.
Yeah. I mean, they really are.
I mean, this series is not meant for kids, really, but I mean, you can watch it as a kid. I mean, that's a whole other discussion that I can.
Yeah, well,
but about something completely different anyway, so I'm not going to bother even talking about it. But there's so much of television now is just not geared towards kids. Yeah, really, it's like hard.
But that's kind of one thing that I like about the direction that these series are going in. Like it panders to both adult and kid crowds, and I like that because it allows it to have its basic Star Wars campiness, but it also allows it to get a little bit deeper in certain concepts and with things of that nature.
Yeah, and with series like this, it's the hardcore fans who are watching these series. The kids want the movies. And maybe the cartoons and stuff, but these series are kind of more branching off, and they are more for the hardcore 20 to 40 to 50 somethings who have grown up with Star Wars. So I get that. But anyways, what I was saying, he had said something that he actually refound a love for those films because he realized just that's what it is. It's to many people he is Obi-Wan.
Exactly.
Not Alec Guinness.
Yeah. And I think,
Sir Alec Guinness.
In agreement with that, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I would almost consider him my Obi-Wan too, because obviously, growing up, Sir Alec Guinness was the Obi-Wan that we knew when we were first introduced to Star Wars. But, you consider episode 1 through 3, that came out when we were in like our 18 to early 20s. So we were kind of in that threshold as well to have him also be our Obi-Wan.
Episode 1 came out, I want to say I was 16 or 17.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there, in that threshold.
Well, I mean, Return of the Jedi came out the year I was born.
Yeah. So, exactly. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We grew up with that, but it wasn't necessarily. It was our Star Wars, but you think a lot of kids born in the 90s, like. The prequel trilogy, that's their Star Wars. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And plus, Ewan McGregor does
he's
that role really well.
He's great for the role.
He's exactly what you think a young Alec Guinness, growing up on the originals, on the first trilogy, he's exactly what you think a young Alec Guinness would be. Yeah,
and very very kind of stoic and reserved, but still has some personality there. I like that this show explored him kind of having to refine his roots, and the fact that he has been isolated and become like the hermit Ben as we know him, and actually kind of seeing him how he lived during that time, just living in a cave and tattooing.
And in fact, it's actually funny because in this one he actually is a hermit.
Yeah, he's literally a hermit.
Where the series goes, he ends up not really being a hermit. He just kind of goes off to actually find a home. Where in this one he's a hermit.
He's a hermit.
He's a homeless hermit living in a cave.
Kind of that creepy neighbor, but for some reason he's a Jedi.
Stay away from my kid. Get out of here, you bum. And then his reconnecting to the Force and stuff is it's all strong and it's great that and I don't know if they did this intentionally, but apparently, and a lot of people have pointed this out, but that the episode structure basically is the episode structure of each episode of Star Wars.
Episodes 1 through 6.
Yeah, episodes 1 through 6. So episode 1 being
I didn't know that. That's a good theory, and I think in hindsight, looking at it now, that kind of does make sense.
I mean, in small ways, it's not exactly the whole plot is like, that's basically the plot of Phantom Menace. No, it's not that. It's just sort of small ways of like small touches of
small references, maying
and just kind of where they're going, what they're doing. Like episode 1, they start out on a desert planet, find a Force sensitive child, and they're trying to rescue a Force sensitive child. So that's more in episode 2, but on a desert planet dealing with a Force sensitive child. Episode 2 on a more kind of metropolis type of planet, running away from bounty guards and kind of dealing with that and assassins and stuff. The third episode, there's a lightsaber duel and someone gets burnt by fire. There's a lot of it's little things like that, which is just kind of interesting.
Yeah, clever. I always think when I think about Star Wars, and we've kind of talked about this off camera a lot, is how they're able to keep keep consistency and callbacks to everything that they do. One thing that you brought up that I thought was very interesting when it comes to Obi-Wan is how he greets everybody when he first meets them, which is you're better.
I don't know if exactly when he first meets them, but it's just and it's funny because I've never noticed it before, and I don't know why I didn't notice it before, but so in episode 3 when Obi-Wan jumps down to battle Grievous, he says, "Hello there."
Yeah.
And it's just always been funny to me. It's always been hilarious. I think it's just the way Ewan McGregor's delivery, and especially the way the prequels were shot and written. A lot of stuff was on the fly, so that could have just been a all right, that's good enough. That's good enough, because it's very kind of comical. It's very hello there.
Well,
even so much that when the Rise of Skywalker came out and the whole Rey, be with me, I posted a meme. It was her saying "be with me," but then it was Ewan McGregor, "Hello there." Anyway, but so at the end of this, he says "hello there" to Luke, and it just was brought to my attention today. In A New Hope, he says "hello there" after he saves him from the Tusken Raiders and takes off his hood. Alec Guinness turns around. Sorry, Sir Alec Guinness turns around and says "hello there." It's just kind of a funny connection. It's small, and again, it's so small that I didn't even pick it up from A New Hope because, who's gonna pick up "hello there"?
Yeah, but very, very clever, and again, I like how they're, like you said, with this each episode referencing the movies. Again, just kind of a clever,
it's a clever
continuity. You know what I mean? There,
you can call it an Easter egg. You can call it whatever it is. But whatever it is, absolutely. It's clever as shit.
Yeah.
Going forward, we're going with Moses Ingram as the third sister, Reva.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to stand on a little bit of a soapbox here. Fandom, stop with the racism and stop with the being shitty. I'll admit, I'm sorry, Moses, you were fine, but this was not your role. And it wasn't, and I think it was actually had more to do with the writing and the way that the other Inquisitors dealt with her. They kind of treated her even in show, I'm talking about in the show, that they kind of treated her as like the girl from the hood, which it seemed out of place in a Star Wars type of dialogue. But also to a degree, she kind of acted it that way. I think actually her sort of insolence and the way I think it ended up having a point of her being so insolent and being very short-tempered,
abrasive,
and kind of abrasive. And so actually, it did actually end up paying off. But at first, and I'm talking about because at first when the hate about her, the racism and really crappy things that were said about her online,
just absolutely
came out.
Unnecessary.
It was around that second episode where she was a little bit too, for lack of a better term, like kind of the very hood speaking, and it just sort of didn't seem like it fit. And that also kind of doubled because the Grand Inquisitor and the other Inquisitor kind of talk to her that way. They kind of say like, "Oh, we found you in a gutter," and it's like,
yeah,
and it just kind of this is my own. I think because all that was coming out at the exact same time as those two episodes, and I kind of already felt that way. It was sort of weird. But I mean, the same thing happened in John Boyega. There was a lot of racism thrown his way. Towards Kelly Tran, who played Rose, and it's just I don't know, and it's a bigger problem in the world that we don't talk about politics on here. So I'm very anti-racism and very, very like inclusive and about inclusion and stuff. So fuckers need to stop that.
And at the end of the day, I mean, like, before we move on, like, Star Wars is for everyone. It's for everyone to enjoy.
It's a galaxy far, far away.
It's a galaxy far, far away. There's no place for it. Just leave it out.
I mean, damn, the original trilogy. The original trilogy, it only had one black guy, but he was the baddest motherfucker on the galaxy. Goddamn right, Lando Calrissian all day.
But so
even if he does steal Han Solo's clothes.
The one thing that I thought that was interesting about the Inquisitors, while we're speaking on the topic of them, they never really touched into like the backstory of these characters, as to where they like I thought something was interesting because I kind of had a feeling as the show kind of started to develop, thinking that it was possible that the third sister, was that her name?
It was third sister. Well,
Third sister.
Riva, the third
Riva,
sister.
the
yeah.
third sister.
Reva.
Riva.
It's weird. It depends on how many.
Yeah.
When I say it, I might say Riva. I might say Reva.
But I kind of had a feeling that there was a possibility that she was a youngling.
Oh no, 100%. I knew that.
And
I knew
so,
that was the case.
But I didn't know whether it was she was a youngling and Vader spared her, maybe possibly because of her power or her connection to the Force. I wasn't really sure what her connection was there. And with all the Inquisitors, right? We never really get a backstory on these characters,
Well,
and I hope it's something.
It's the Boba Fett problem.
Yes, it is, but I hope that doesn't continue to be the Boba Fett problem. I hope it becomes at some point a solution, because I think that it's interesting to explore this idea of the Inquisitors existing in this period of time. But if you get to Episode 4, A New Hope, there are no Inquisitors, right? At least that we know of or that we're exposed to.
Here's my argument for that. It's my same argument of if you can't really complain about not getting more introduction to a certain character if you haven't watched everything, kind of like the MCU argument.
Yeah.
You know, and I know the Inquisitor is a big deal in Rebels, and I think a little bit in Clone Wars. The Inquisitors and the second sister, the sisters are. I can't remember if they're called the sisters or they're all the Inquisitors. I know there's the Grand Inquisitor, and then.
Oh shit! He's the Grand Inquisitor from the.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I just am now putting that together. Sorry.
Okay.
That just shows how much I don't watch the animated series.
No, yeah, I mean, again,
all right, makes more sense.
I like to watch like short snippets in like 30 minute videos.
So I'm gonna be honest. The only part of the Clone Wars that I watched was the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah. Okay.
So because I like Darth Maul and Mandalorians is my it's my preference.
Yeah.
So
okay,
I was not aware of that.
Moving on, then we have a young Leia Organa.
Which
child, which that one surprised me because it just sort of, you never got the sense that they'd
met before. But realistically, if you think about it now, it kind of actually makes sense as to why she knows that Obi-Wan is the only hope in A New Hope.
Well, I mean, you get the idea that Bail sent her again. I think it's not even a problem at all. Do you remember everyone you knew when you were 10? No. 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 Your dad's friend you met one time when you were 10? No. You have no recollection of that person whatsoever. I understand they went through some harrowing ordeal, but I'm just saying. She could vaguely remember.
I think the actress who played Leia,
Vivian Lyra Blair.
was fantastic. She was great.
She
was a great child actress. Just had the right mannerisms, reactions to everything, as you'd think a kid would act in a real scenario dealing with that.
And especially a kid who is shown to be a little bit rebellious.
Yes.
And wanting to. She knows she's the child of a senator. She's going to be going into politics, and this sort of, it's actually great because this series sort of not foreshadows, but it
lays the foundation.
For how she's going to go. It informs how she ends up being in the prequels and then going on. Sequel trilogy, not the prequel. I'm sorry, the original trilogy. It's really hard to get that right sometimes. even when I'm talking about like episodes 1, 2, 3, like in my brain, I still want to say New Hope's episode 1. But
I agree with you there.
What are you gonna do? George Lucas didn't really have a plan at all.
But she was absolutely fantastic in this show, and I think that her and Ewan McGregor's chemistry worked really well.
It was really well, and
it really felt
even down to the simple scene of her asking if he was her real father.
Yeah, and then the end where he,
which we'll go on that. We'll go on that when we talk
has a discussion with her.
Yeah.
So
like last but not least, last person we really need to touch on in focus, Hayden Christensen.
Yes, Hayden Christensen. I mean, there was some bumps in him playing Anakin. I think primarily, like you said, probably due to writing. We obviously know that in episodes 1 through 3, George Lucas did not have any access to the Screen Actors Guild to assist him with making those movies. So the direction could have maybe gotten a little lost. But I think especially in episode 3, once he starts to kind of make that shift into where we see him become eventually Darth Vader, he really started to like own that character.
Oh, I mean, that's why for me episode 3 is damn near, it's up there with one of my favorite of the Star Wars, the entire franchise.
Absolutely.
It's not my absolute favorite.
No, yeah, but
but
it is up there, and I agree with you because I think that's where he really starts to take ownership of the character and really allows him to flourish in that character.
Yeah, and I think with that one too. I mean, there's been myriad of documentation about the struggle of filming those movies with the dialogue and the scripts constantly changing. George Lucas really didn't have an actual plan. He had he basically had cliff notes of what he wanted the movies to be, and then focused more on the artwork and how the things would look rather than the story and dialogue. I mean, that's why so much of the dialogue reading is stilted and unsure. And in certain cases, it plays to, like Hayden Christensen specifically, it plays to his character. But then there's some dumb, everyone hates I don't like sand. Yeah. But I mean, who does? He's right. I'm sorry. I'll defend that line.
Love sand.
No. He's right. It's coarse and it gets everywhere.
But it was great to see him reprise that role, and I mean,
and also to see him reprise actual Anakin.
Yeah,
in a quick duel.
In the duality of the. That's right. Yeah, because he in the duel scene as well, which I also thought was just kind of a good exploration that we kind of needed to really see outside of obviously the animated series. It's nice to see that interaction and how those characters played together, and again in a real world sense, outside of episodes 1 through 3. Yeah. I think it kind of allowed them to put a little more emphasis on that relationship, and it was good to see him as that.
They didn't spend too much money on the de-aging process, though.
No, they did not. No, they did not. They
definitely didn't really split. But as I was saying, it's and with George Lucas focusing too much on like how everything looked in the prequels. Now they have the volume, which they can basically just project everything, and they're like, actually, it's like you're living in that world. You're not having to act against this blue screen and everything's static. And even in the scenes where the duel scene where it's a flashback where they're dueling, he is more natural and he's not so stiff and
absolutely.
But then him as Vader and. I mean, yes, it's James Earl Jones' voice. I know, but
he fills out that suit. He looks good in it. He looks great in it.
Because why? It's Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader, but we have a stunt guy in the suit, and it's James Earl. Well, why? Why even do it?
Yeah, no, it's obviously him in the suit. He fills it out. Looks great in it.
And does some awesome Force moves.
Does some awesome Force moves. One thing that I've really loved about what Star Wars has done recently, because I've always found Star Wars to be interesting in certain aspects, right? Obviously, when we get to Empire Strikes Back, right? Luke's on Dagobah. We find out like the really like how strong the Force can be when he takes the X-wing out of the swamp, right? Yeah. And then just a quick like off topic, but it is canon. Is the Force Unleashed, right?
So, no, it is not canon anymore.
It's not canon anymore? They took it out of canon?
That was one of the things that was taken out of canon.
What?
I know.
Oh, my... anyway.
But,
so, that's terrible. But I thought it was canon. Wow, I didn't know that they removed that.
And Sam Witwer, who was Jerry...
he's Star Killer.
The Apprentice, Star Killer.
Yeah, Star Killer. He's the voice of Darth Maul, yeah. Wow, that sucks. But anyway, obviously in The Force Unleashed, you really get this real sense of how strong Force users can be. And I've loved that in these new series, they really explore that a lot more. Like, obviously, when you have the Rebels trying to leave that, whatever planet they're on, and they do the bait and switch.
Which is so weird,
you see Vader come out and just immediately stop a ship just coming out to get out of port.
Oh no!
Just with the Force alone.
And many, like the next day, so many people were like, "We finally got to see that awesome thing from Force Unleashed in like an actual show."
Yeah, and I mean that, and that's what I thought too. I'm like, that's great because you could really see how strong the Force is. Obviously, he pulls that down, bait and switch. Classic bait and switch. I thought it was good.
It was kind of weird the way it was edited because you didn't see another ship there.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's a bait and switch.
I know, but there wasn't another ship there. But anyway, whatever. So that leads us perfectly, actually, into like what the best story beats and stuff, and scenes and kind of cool stuff that we really liked about this show, because there was a lot. There was some touched on it earlier, the Reva stuff, of her being a youngling who actually escaped Anakin's assault on the Jedi Temple during Order 66. Which I kind of saw coming, kind of saw that being the thing, that she was one of the younglings so at the very beginning of the show, it starts off with Order 66 being carried out by Anakin. We're not going through the plot, I'm just saying that's where it starts out. And so we kind of got the sense that maybe because they were focusing a little bit on her, that she was one of those younglings.
Yeah.
They kind of didn't know. Maybe she was just some other dark Jedi or Force sensitive kid they found, plucked her out of the thing. Her story arc actually is, like I said earlier, it pays off really well, and it kind of makes, like I said earlier, it makes her sort of insolence and her short-temperedness make sense, because she is. It's almost like she did join up with the Inquisitors to get at Vader.
Yeah.
I think it's common knowledge that at least to people who weren't hiding in a cave or under a rock, that Vader is Anakin.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I gathered.
Yeah.
Or maybe because she's part of the Empire, she just is in the know.
Yeah.
But her story arc, and it's so funny because her story arc and Obi-Wan's, they are so thematically intertwined.
They are
throughout the series, and it's about grief and guilt and overcoming your grief and coming to terms with who you really are.
Yeah.
And it just plays out so well. So just kind of a quick one. So she ends up trying to kill Darth Vader. Tries to stab him in the back with one of the best fucking lightsaber fights. Well, one-sided lightsaber fight.
Yeah,
I've ever seen, because Vader just says, "I don't need to even lift my sword. Baby. I don't need to bring arms into this. I'm just gonna." And he straight force blocks everything.
Yeah,
and it's amazing, incredible. Right after the scene you talked about the ship pulling the ship down, and then she goes after Luke, and in that moment she just remembers she wants to go after Luke to just hurt someone. She's like, and finally. She can't go through with it, and Obi-Wan tells her, and she thinks she failed. She wanted revenge to basically for her friends that she lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other younglings that she lost at the Jedi Temple, and Obi-Wan tells her, like, no, you honored them by not hurting him and turning away from the dark side, and conversely, Obi-Wan has shut himself off from the Force, basically, and he's a little bit weaker in the Force, and kind of gets stronger as the series progresses. The first lightsaber duel that him and Darth Vader, which is this is a little thing. I didn't think Darth Vader was going to be in it this much.
I didn't either. I really didn't.
I said in my synopsis, the inevitable.
Yeah.
It's episode 3.
Yeah, and he
Episode 3, episode 4.
Hayden Christensen gets a lot of screen time in this, and which is great. I mean, it's because I think who doesn't want to see more Vader? You know what I mean? Like I like. So it's really great to see him in the capacity that they did.
Hands down, he is the most popular Star Wars character.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was
maybe
great
not
to
of
see.
All, maybe not of all, but
no, not of all. But I'd say probably Yoda, R2-D2, C-3PO.
I don't know, man. Vader gets it. Vader gets it. But no, when their duel in episode 3 is like very one-sided. Vader's just handing Obi-Wan his ass, until Obi-Wan kind of really gets his strength back and is able to whip him back.
Yeah, and I think
and that second duel was great because even Obi-Wan even says, like, it's one of us. One of us has to go.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that buildup comes from, obviously, it's kind of unique the way that they did this because there's a lot of reliance on the Jedis for the lightsabers, right? Mm-hmm. And when you look at the scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin when they're back on, I'm assuming it's in...
That's at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant.
On Coruscant, yeah. When they're there and they're fighting, and obviously Anakin takes... Sparring. It was more fighting on Anakin's side, but you know, once he takes Obi-Wan's lightsaber and he says, "It's over, I've won."
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan tells him, like, it's not always about that. Like, just because you think that you have the upper hand doesn't mean that you always have the upper hand. And it was interesting because after that callback, that's when Reva tries to kill Vader. And again, he learned something obviously from Obi-Wan, which is like, you don't always need the lightsaber to be able to win, and uses his force powers. And that is an amazing scene just to see him just badass.
It's such a ballet, it's just a ballet of like awesome, you know, just force block, disarming, and it's
just realizing how like in tune with the force Anakin is, and really how like daunting of a character he is, because he really has like, he's so in tune with the force that he doesn't need the saber to be able to beat you. He can beat you many other ways.
And that moves on into Obi-Wan and Vader's second duel, where at first,
which is just
Vader's hasn't, like, you know,
I just gotta say, this scene in this show, chef's kiss
completely
perfection.
And Swedish chef kiss. But
yeah, go ahead and get into the second duel.
Yes, I just did that. But yeah, Vader's like throwing rocks at him. He's tearing. They're in this cliff planet.
Yeah,
because Star Wars is never really all that creative with their planets. It's desert planet, a floral planet.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars
greenery planet, another desert planet, city planet. This is one's cliffs. It's just cliffs.
And the one thing I have to say before we dive into this a little bit further, Star Wars right now has a Tatooine problem, and I'd love to see, like, let's get away from Tatooine for a little bit. I'd really like to get off of the desert planets for a little bit and go explore some other planets within the galaxy, because honestly, I'm a little burnt out. If you know, by the twin suns, if I can say.
Well done. No, actually, real quick aside, that was my disappointment in Galaxy's Edge, or as I like to call it, Star Wars Town at Disneyland, because it's just Batu. It's fucking Tatooine. Like, don't. I would have much rather liked like a nice Coruscant looking thing, like, you know, the very gleamy, like.
Man, I'll even go with Camino. Like, give me some like futuristic space like looking stuff. You know, like power. Like, I mean, I'm a little burnt out on Tatooine, but let's get back into the second duel.
Those were some real quick asides, because you know, as much as we love Star Wars, sometimes they're not that creative. In their planet developing, it's like No Man's Sky. Just like, let's fly to this planet. Everything looks exactly the same. But you know, Vader's throwing like cliffs at him and rocks and boulders, and he buries Obi-Wan alive. And Obi-Wan gets a very his Spider-Man moment of.
Yes.
Give me the strength.
Yeah.
And fucking Dragon Ball Z's his way out of there.
Yeah.
like straight up. And then again, using the Force as a weapon, and it's cool. They really did using the Force, and because the Force, it's always sort of used a little bit lazy, more often in the movies than it is, like, say, in comic books or books or video games. In the movies, even in the prequels, when they were supposed to be showing off, you know, Force users at their kind of height, like, you know, using Force speed, Force jumps. They didn't show it off very well. But this one, I mean, he uses the Force to load a barrage of rocks at Vader, and this is sort of
and this is also after a very impressive lightsaber duel between Hayden Christensen and
I mean, all the lightsaber duels were impressive.
And Ewan McGregor, though, and this particular one I thought was just on par, if not maybe even better than what we saw in Episode 3. Obviously,
Episode 1, 2, or 3. I mean, really,
a little bit shorter in the duration, but still just as powerful. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was great. I mean, Ewan McGregor, like, hats off, because some of the flurries that he was doing and some of the moves that he was doing was just incredible. And it was really cool to.
And even Hayden Christensen under the Vader suit being able to pull off a lot of those moves.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I when we got to this scene in the show, I was just mind blown by how good it was.
And just going full bore at each other. And then we get the end of that duel where, Obi-Wan is triumphant. And this is what I'm talking about, like how him and Reva, don't know the
third sister.
Yeah, third sister. They're the theme of overcoming guilt and overcoming guilt play together because Obi-Wan wins the duel, and he went down. It was very much him or Vader. Like one of them had to go. And when he strikes Vader down and breaks his mask open, and he sees his friend's face through that mask, we get like one of. I mean, Hayden Christensen is not a great actor. We all know this. I do like him. I loved him in Looper. The House movie that he made, that was actually really good, and I think he is capable of being a really good actor. But this is his finest acting, period. Just through this one crack in his mask, and we get a little bit of a resolution to something fans have sort of complained about, but not really complained, but they've always sort of viewed as a weird plot hole or a slight contrivancy, which is the line that Vader killed your father, what Ben told Luke. And then later retracts and says, from a certain point of view, that was the truth. We get Darth Vader, Anakin, saying that we get Ewan sobbingly and also wonderfully acted by Ewan McGregor.
Absolutely.
Sobbing and apologizing for what he did and what he made him. And cold-blooded shit. Vader, who's fully dark side now, but he's fully dark side now, but there might still be a little light in him, and I think there's a part of Obi-Wan that sensed that. Yeah. Which is sort of why maybe he didn't strike him down.
Yeah, why he kind of walks away.
But he says, "I'm not your failure. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did." Yeah. And it's like, and then Obi-Wan walks away and actually refers to him as Darth for the first time, which he did in A New Hope.
And this scene worked on so many levels.
Lighting and acting
because and it was very reminiscent of the fight on Mustafar. With Obi-Wan basically, telling Anakin how he's failed him, how he was the chosen one, and how he was supposed to bring balance, and they kind of revisited that to a sense.
In a sense, yeah.
But the thing that made this scene work so well for me that I really loved was once the mask got broken, how you could hear Hayden Christensen's voice come out.
Kind of break in and out
of James Earl Jones' voice, of Darth Vader. And I thought, just so well done. I mean, it was... and
it was cool. It was so cool because there's
goosebumps, man. It was so good.
Because he first starts addressing him, and it's in Anakin's voice, and then it kind of keeps coming back and forth.
Yeah.
And funny little, how we discussed earlier about funny little things that Star Wars likes to throw in, and kind of just to keep little nods or call them Easter eggs or call them little continuity things, little pings of continuity. The side that he broke his helmet on, that's the side where Vader's scar is on his head in Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
he hit him in the head.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I didn't notice.
Little fun shinfo for you.
Fun little factoid for you. No, but this scene was. I mean, the finale for this show was just incredible. I mean, it was. There was some really good tear-jerking moments,
and real quick, and
really powerful moments.
I touched on it, but I didn't point out that Moses Ingram's acting was fantastic in the resolution of her story.
Absolutely, the resolution of her story was great.
The way she handled that.
What do I do now? Well, you're free,
you're free.
And
we're both free.
Yeah, and just in tears and just kind of coming to a sense of that. She wasn't able to carry out what she wanted to, and what she was going to do with that. Considering her failure, accepting her failure, and then having to accept that she failed, and what is she going to do at that moment? what's to be done with the.
But again, I mean, there's victory and failure sometimes. I mean,
absolutely, absolutely.
That's what Obi-Wan's telling her.
And that's what's great. That's what makes that resolution so good.
Yeah, that's what Obi-Wan's telling her is that she didn't fail. Have to. She didn't fail. If anything, she succeeded in her training and succeeded in in turning her back away from what she knew. What I think he senses that she always knew was wrong anyway.
Yeah, well, because
in a lot of ways she kind of acts that way. I mean, that kind of leads to her brashness and stuff.
She doesn't become the person that she wants to defeat.
Yeah.
Why would you want to become that person? Then you're the same. You're walking that same line.
Yeah.
But so
another quick little Easter egg. Easter egg again, or pinging of continuity. When Owen is trying to fight off the third sister, when she's trying to kidnap Luke, or kill Luke, or she's trying to kill him.
Yeah.
He falls down and hurts his leg. Owen in A New Hope, little limp.
Oh, that's true.
Fun
that's true.
Info.
That's true.
A lot of fun. I love Joel Edgerton as well.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. He always sort of plays that sort of sullen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dad. He is sort of always typecast, but I think he does that well, so it's fine.
Yeah. It was good. It was good to see him get a good amount of screen time in this as Uncle Owen. So,
and it's always good to see Flea as a bad guy.
Flea, yeah. I mean,
where was Anthony Kiedis?
Yeah.
Why wasn't Anthony Kiedis always one of the bounty hunters?
You know why he wasn't in it? Because that would be a waste of time.
All right. On that note, let's get into our monkeys.
Let's get into the monkeys. All right. So you want me to start this one off?
Sure. Why not?
All right. So I'm gonna give Obi-Wan a 12 out of 12. I mean, this show for me hit out the gate. Like Star Wars to me is always, I think one of the reasons why I gravitate towards it so much is it has a little bit of everything, right? It's a Western, it's got cowboys, right? It's got pirates, it's got samurais, it's got everything, right? And what I liked particular about this series is we got to see all of that really come into...
We got to see a space hillbilly.
Exactly, and to see all that come into, wrapped up into one series, obviously with The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, we've explored more the concept of, again, bounty hunters, piracy, those kind of things. This was
crime
nice.
Syndicates.
Yeah, this was nice again because we really got to go back into like the Jedis and seeing that whole aspect, which really is like the foundation of which Star Wars was laid upon,
Yeah.
And so this show just really worked for me. I mean, I can understand there were some. Not all the acting was up to like a complete par or was completely great. But I do think that, like you said, maybe it was a writing issue because I think that where those early failures might have been in this series really paid off at the end, and those characters were able to.
That's why I said that. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and those characters were able to find their moment and flesh out their character and get to where, the resolution was made, and I really enjoyed that. And again with me, I mean, the finale was just fantastic. Like the fight scene, the duel between Anakin or Darth Vader and Obi was just fantastic. I mean, it was, again, like, just so everyone knows, Episode 3, the fight on Mustafar, was up until this point my favorite duel in all in all of Star Wars, in all of the Star Wars cinematic universe. This one succeeded that for me. I thought it was done much better. I really loved when you saw Hayden Christensen and the voice coming in and out between, because you could see that when he got more angry is when the Vader voice would come in.
Yeah.
And when he was initially talking, you saw that little sense of that he's still Anakin, and just having the duality of that character being shown, not only physically, but then hearing it through his voice, audible. I just thought was incredible. And so, and then again, Leia and Obi-Wan's dynamic was just incredible in the show. I mean, I really loved it. I think it was, you have this sense that Obi-Wan really cares about Padme and Anakin in episodes 1 through 3, right?
Yeah.
And he is going to devote his life to protecting their children and making sure that they don't go down the same path that their father did. And this show really depicts how much he cared not only about their kids, but them as individuals as well. And I thought it was just well done.
And before I get into my monkeys, just to touch on that real quick, is the speech, the advice he gives to Leia before he leaves her in the last episode is he describes, and I think that duel with Vader, it sort of, what it does for him, it separates Vader and Anakin.
Yes.
So he can finally look back fondly on
who Anakin was.
Mm-hmm. To know that, he didn't. Anakin was long dead before he ever fought him and on Mustafar. Mm-hmm. So he can look back on Anakin fondly, and he gives her. He basically tells her about her parents and how great of people they were.
Great scene, and the qualities that she has in each of her parents, and without having to identify who Anakin is no longer, who Darth Vader is, but identifying Anakin as his own individual. And I thought that was separated. Yeah, and that was a really touching scene at the end of this finale. Just so again. 12 out of 12 for me. This was fantastic.
I had promised before to be a little bit more, I'm gonna say lean or like concerning with my monkeys. Be a little bit more like stop giving everything 12 out of 12 because I've given a lot of things 12 out of 12. Some of them did deserve it. Maybe some of them didn't. I don't know. This one though, solid 12 out of 12. I can't I wanted to I got to be a little bit more discerning with the monkeys. Give them a little bit more respect. But these ratings mean nothing. So fuck it, I'll give them 12 out of 12. And it was fantastic. Barring again my initial, and it was just I just didn't really jive with the character until the story progressed. And that's hey, that happens sometimes. You kind of you're just not getting the vibe of the character and you just don't like it, and then that character progresses and does done really well, and it actually leads to a really good story overall. The action set pieces were amazing. Having the idea of sort of an underground railroad for Jedis or just people trying to get out of the Empire. It was great cameo by Camille Nanjiani.
And then we also got O'Shea Jackson Jr. Shout out also.
And and how that all worked. And it's funny that Camille Nanjiani is a fake Jedi. He's
yeah.
I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, it was absolutely fun.
And you kind of think he's just sort of some huckster, and he might turn them over to the Empire or something. And he actually turns out he is real. He's just he's trying to
just make a living.
Well, no, he's really helping.
Yeah,
he's doing a little panaise.
Yeah. A little bit of blurred lines.
A little bit of showmanship. Why the hell not? Jimmy Smits always incredible.
Yes, and it's great to see. It's great to see those characters reprise these roles in this, even if it's a small bit. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So,
and it wasn't even that small. It's small. I mean, he was in a few episodes. Fine. He's not exactly front and center, but whatever. Shouts to Deborah Chow for directing the whole thing because it was shot amazingly. Again, the light palette of the lightsaber duels and stuff, which has always been a problem because in the original trilogy, the lightsabers were all rotoscoped afterwards, so there's no reflection, and so it's always Luke and Vader, and it's weird that George Lucas never went to fix that. He needed to fix Greedo being shot, but whatever. But it really plays, especially in the scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end of their duel, because it's interesting. It's subtle, but if you really notice it, you really notice it. But when Anakin first starts talking and he first says, "I'm not your failure," it's a blue light shining on his on his helmet.
It is.
And then once he says he does have a creepy, sinister smile underneath that mask happening. He says, "I did," and it kind of goes red again. And that shit just gets me going for when it comes to cinematography and planning out your shots and planning out your lighting and stuff like that. That really gets me going when I'm watching something. It really gets me more engaged, and it really does make it more emotional, hit harder,
intensifies it,
and it's magnificent. 12 out of 12 all the way. Real quick before we wrap this up, let's have a brief. Please keep it brief.
Does
anyone like Star Wars anymore? Because no one can be happy with Star Wars anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I think it's very unfortunate. I think that the thing is that there's this constant, and I think this goes for even outside of Star Wars. I think that once people kind of take ownership of something, which is the problem anyway.
I've had my blow-ups about fandom before.
It's not yours to own. It's for everyone to enjoy. So, just unless they completely drive it into the ground, I think everything that Disney...
Hey, Warner Brothers!
Exactly, yeah. But I think Disney's been handling this very well. I've loved everything that they've done, and I agree with you. I
do want them to pump the brakes a little bit on the releasing stuff.
Yes. Give us and that being said, that with Marvel too. I need a little bit of break in between everything. Like I really don't want to be flooded with this stuff. I want to be able to sit back and appreciate it, enjoy it, feel the nostalgic from it, understand like what makes me, why I love it, why I love talking about it, why I'm passionate about it.
But I will give them that at least they're doing things. They've gone to the weekly release schedule, which gives you a little bit of time to...
Yes, gives you a little time to
like we were talking about before,
sit, resonate.
Instead of binging it.
Like, absolutely.
Binging something in 2 days, like binging 13 episodes, something in 2 days, having 6 weeks of something to look forward to, something to talk about, something to ruminate over and theorize or just think about and like let it live in your head and let you love it. Instead of, again, forcing you to love it. With the Marvel stuff, shut up. The Marvel stuff is fantastic. I'm gonna stand here. I'm gonna stand here in hard defense. Only because the Marvel stuff, it's still ongoing. I feel like there's a lot of the Disney stuff that they've talked about planning to do. Like, I'm gonna watch it, but I don't need a Cassian Andor show. Like, I got enough of that character in Rogue One.
Yeah,
I don't need more of that because what that's gonna be is him basically being a Han Solo, which he was in Rogue One.
Yeah,
and.
Absolutely.
But I'm not... but that's sort of my thing. It's like, even with the sequel trilogy, so many people shit on it. I've gone back and watched Force Awakens, Rise of Skywalker, and Last Jedi. That's not the correct order, but you know what I meant. And they're great films. They're not great, but they're good films of their own merit. But also, if you go look back at the original Star Wars trilogy, those aren't great films.
No, they're
not
really
necessarily.
Yeah. No,
they're nostalgic and they're they're something we love. And I love Star Wars. I fucking love Star Wars. So I'm gonna be okay with it, whatever I get that's Star Wars. Like, I mean, like I said, the Cassian Andor show. Do I really need it? Do I really want it? No. Am I gonna watch it? Yes. I know that comes from the person who keeps hammering on that I haven't watched cartoons. I understand that, but
there's just too many. There's just too many episodes.
And it was a cartoon, and I just didn't. It was at a time in my life where I wasn't exactly so enveloped in. They came out in a time in my life where I wasn't so enveloped in this type of stuff, and now I'm kind of back in, and I just don't have the time to go back.
Don't have the time to revisit it, and I think at the end of the day, you really have to take Star Wars at its face value for what it is. And again, it's campy B sci-fi adventure. Exactly. That just happened to turn out into something that was a lot larger than what the expectation was.
And again, remember, it's supposed to be for kids.
And
these series, maybe not so much, because Obi-Wan definitely, you kids could watch it. I'm not saying, it's not the boys.
Yeah.
It's not, the kids can watch it. It's just, it's a little bit darker. I'm just saying, you just keep that in mind when you as a 40-year-old, or as I will be soon, or you as a late person in your late 20s and you grew up with the prequels, and then you want to shit on the sequel trilogy for just not living up to and damaging and ruining your childhood. It didn't. What it is actually making another childhood
develop
magical.
And let's also not forget.
Do not shit on actors just because of their race, gender, sexual orientation. Stop it. Stop harassing actors. Otherwise, what.
And let's also not forget what I was trying to say.
Sorry.
It also takes place in a galaxy far, far away.
Yes.
So also, that being said, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know your feelings about Obi-Wan. We would love to hear it. What fight scenes do you prefer most in the Star Wars cinematic universe? And with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and jettison ourselves light speed over to Dagobah right now.
May the Force be with you.
and with you. We'll know when it's
You
ready.
guys will regret keeping it.
Huh?
You'll regret keeping that one.
What do you mean?
Because you'll have to cut so much and like...
It takes 5 seconds.
It does. It does, yeah. All right.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, I don't think...
I don't know. I don't know rap.
Okay. Clearly.
I'm aggressively
What
white.
is it?
Master P.
Master P.
Oh, there.
That's what I would have said, yeah. Na-na.
Yeah.
Na-na. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I'm saying, All right. Okay.
I'm not going to do it very well either, but okay.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Damn it. All right, that was pretty good.
It was. It's just...
Your voice is good.
No, it's just like...
Yeah.
Damn lightsaber's not showing up on cue.
I mean, that'll be good for the outtakes.
No,
All right, ready? You can't even see that.
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's incredible.
I wear contacts, bruh.
Well, I mean, like, I can't even see it from the angle, so. Who wore them better? Almost there.
I know.
Almost there.
I'll get it, buddy. I'll get it, buddy. Don't you even freaking
I'll start
fret.
from the beginning again. All right, we're ready?
Got it.
All right.
Move it every now and again.
Yeah. Oh, shit. That's a lot of responsibility.
Dude, you have to flick it like every now and again.
Okay. Just a dab, huh?
Just a dab.
Just a dab.
Just a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap.
All right.
Ready? Too good for your home?
All right.
10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan has continued to... I realized I said Revenge of the Sith.
I was gonna.
Revenge of the Sith.
I was gonna say that too.
It's such a good series. It's my favorite Star Wars movie. It's Revenge of the Sith.
Do we need to go back?
No,
into
that's
the whole-
fine.
All right.
Because then I can cut out that I should have pre-read this.
Practiced it.
That one.
Mm-hmm.
10 years after the events of Revenge of...
It's a hard thing to say.
It is. That's a hard word to say. Start
Sith-
over.
Sith
Here,
is a hard
real
thing
quick.
to
Let me just read through it again.
Okay.
And then shut up, Dick. Don't be such a dick, Dick. Wish you weren't such a dick.
What are you
but-
laughing about?
I'm glad I can catch up now. Because I think you went like this. In the beginning it has very Guy Fieri.
Where are my sunglasses? I'll put them on the back of my head.
I would eat that off a flip flop.
Apparently, like restaurant owners are so annoyed when he comes in.
Oh yeah.
They fucking hate him.
Well, because then after they get like the restaurant gets so busy, they generally don't have enough staff to like keep up with the demand or quality.
No, it's more just they don't like him.
Really?
He's so annoying.
I think he seems like a nice
No,
guy.
this is where I've read, and apparently, like he's like, I don't know, discriminatory hearsay, but discriminatory stuff.
Objection.
Overruled.
Overruled. All right, let's see if I can get through this because
I mean, it looks
I was
wordy.
apparently a little bold on my.
It looks wordy.
It's pretty wordy, but if I can get through it, you'll be fucking impressed, sir.
Well, I'm impressed every time you do these, especially when they were like on the fly.
True.
You know.
I like it better when it's not, because just again, use better words.
Do you want me to come in from the intro again?
Just do the whole thing again.
Okay.
Fine.
All right.
I twirl my mustache to get going.